Thanks for those that are here. My name is Christine. I'm the CEO of Ingenii. And really, our mission is to bridge the gap between conventional data science and quantum computing, specifically within life sciences. So our whole team is very impact driven. We're really just looking at ways to bring our research from academia, business expertise, skill sets, really from all over the place towards moving the needle in human health. That's really, I think, something all of our team has in common here. And we see a lot of really promising applications within life sciences, but we also see a lot of bottlenecks and hurdles for these companies to really start realizing these quantum solutions at scale. So we're really sharing this material. The primary, I guess, audience that we're speaking to, although I know that we have registrations from all over, is really for investors, incubators within life sciences that are helping startups within life sciences start to evaluate emerging technologies. I understand that there's a lot of hype around quantum computing. There's a lot of unknowns around quantum computing. And so we really want to help you get an understanding of the current landscape, what's possible today, what are some of the applications that we're looking at and exploring within life sciences, and really equip you with the ability to provide tools and discernment to your portfolio companies to help them begin to identify when and where quantum may have an impact in their business. And the reason that we think this is really relevant to startups within life sciences, as opposed to just the wider ecosystem, is there is a significant competitive advantage that can come out of incorporating quantum early, building a foundation for quantum early, and really optimizing a lot of the sticky parts of the process that some of the giants in the industry are still looking to come up with solutions around. So we think this can really help startups be a bit more nimble, but there's a lot of discernment to be developed around when and where this can add value for each specific company. So that's the purpose to today's presentation. And with that said, Lai, I'll go ahead and hand it over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Christine. Hello, everyone. I'm Lai Domingo. I'm the Chief Science Officer at Ingenii. And today I wanted to just introduce what this technology is and how we can make use of quantum computing. Also understand a little bit the state of the art and the ecosystem of quantum technologies, and then start understanding how quantum can bring value both in the short and the longer term in different organizations, and what problems are suitable for quantum and which ones are not. So I think we can all agree that we are in the computational era. In the past few decades, we have been building more and more powerful classical computers, and we've been relying more and more in classical computation. But the thing is that there's a physical limitation in the amount of power that we can pack in a classical computer. So this is known as the Moore's law, but basically we cannot make transistors smaller than the size of an atom. So there's a limit in the computational power that we can have with classical computers. And apart from these physical limitations, there are also fiscal limitations. So especially with the massive adoption of AI technologies, generative AI, large language models, one of the main bottlenecks is the immense computational power, energy, and resources required to both train and also deploy these AI models. So if this trend continues, we're really going to spend a lot of resources into adopting these technologies. And because of these physical and fiscal limitations, research has moved towards understanding and realizing new ways of computation that could solve some of these challenges. And one of these new ways of computation is quantum computing. So I want to give a disclaimer here. So quantum computers are not just the next iteration of classical computers that would accelerate any computational task. Rather, it's a different way of processing information. And the way that I understand this is by using this metaphor. So imagine that you are going to a new island and you want to explore this new island. There are different ways of exploring the island. One way is just walking around. And walking would be equivalent to solving a problem by hand. It's time consuming, it's slow, and it's not very efficient. Another thing that you can do is use a car to explore the island. This is similar to what classical computers do. And then there's a third option that's using a boat to explore the ocean surrounding the island. So a boat and a car, they are different ways of exploring the area, but they are not exclusive. You can use a car to explore the island. You can use the boat to explore the vast ocean. And what I want to say with this is that quantum computers solve problems that are very difficult or even impossible to solve with classical computers. So we're not just going to solve the exact same algorithm that you would solve with a classical computer in a quantum computer, but rather we're going to find the tasks that are suitable for quantum computation. And I don't want to go too deep into how quantum mechanics, quantum information works, but just to give you an idea, a quantum computer is a computer that uses the principles of quantum mechanics and quantum information to process this information. So the basic bits, like bits of information in classical computers are represented with zeros and ones, and quantum computers use the quantum equivalent of this, which are called quantum bits or qubits for short. And they use properties of quantum mechanics to perform computations and at the end build algorithms. Some of these properties are superposition and entanglement. Superposition is the fact that qubits can be in a probabilistic combination of two different states at the same time. For example, a qubit can be 80% 0 and 20% 1. And entanglement is that property where qubits are not independent from each other, but they are interconnected, so that the state of one qubit can directly affect the state of another one. And what this means is that quantum computers can solve much faster, much efficiently, some tasks that classical computers can't. So for example, imagine that you were exploring a maze. You were trying to find the solution of a maze. A classical computer would go through one path until you hit a dead end, and then you would start all over again. But quantum computers, since they can use these quantum mechanical properties, they could explore different paths at the same time and find the solution faster. So it's tasks like that where parallelism is important, for example, or probabilistic outcomes are important, where quantum can provide an advantage. But if you are solving a sequential task, for example, you're adding two numbers together and you have to do a series of sequential operations to perform this calculation, then quantum computers are not going to bring any advantage, and they're probably going to be less effective than using a classical computer. So I also want to make another disclaimer here. You may have heard that quantum computers are 10, 5, 15 years away. But what people are referring to where they say that is fault-tolerant quantum computers. So quantum computers are subjective to noise, and you also need like a certain size of like a certain number of qubits to perform like large-scale quantum computations. And for that, you would need fault-tolerant quantum computers, which do not exist yet. We're in the process of building them, but they do not exist yet. But the thing is that this does not mean that we cannot achieve and create advantage today with quantum technology. So I wanted to introduce two types of algorithms that can help realize advantage today with the quantum technology that exists today. So the first one are quantum-inspired algorithms. So quantum-inspired algorithms are inspired by the way quantum mechanics, quantum information works, but they are designed to run both on classical and quantum hardware. So similar to how neural networks in machine learning are inspired by the way the human brain works, quantum-inspired algorithms are inspired by quantum mechanical processes and phenomena, but they are designed to run on classical hardware. So what this means is that you can run those algorithms today in classical hardware and usually get an advantage because these algorithms are very intelligently designed, and you can also translate those algorithms directly into a quantum computer once quantum computers become better and more reliable. So you have this duality that allows you to get an advantage today, but also pave the way for full-scale quantum computers. These are quantum-inspired algorithms. And then we also have hybrid algorithms. Hybrid algorithms combine the strength of both classical and quantum computers. So for example, if you're solving an optimization problem, you could start solving this problem in a classical computer and find like let's say a local minimum, so an approximation of the solution, but that it's still not the best solution that you could find, and then use this solution to feed to a quantum computer and refine the solution much faster. And with this combination, you can achieve and find this final solution much faster than if you had only used classical hardware. And compared, if you wanted to solve this problem in a quantum computer entirely, you would need a much larger quantum computer than the ones that we have today. But by combining both the classical and the quantum hardware, we can solve much larger problems today with the technology that already exists. Okay, so these are the types of algorithms. Now I wanted to introduce a little bit what is the state of the art of the quantum hardware. Where are we? What are the timelines? So here you can see a roadmap by IBM, which is one of the largest quantum computers providers. And basically every year they have been releasing a new quantum computer with at least twice as many qubits. So the growth in the number of qubits has been really exponential. We started with just around 30 qubits. Now we have more than 1,000 qubits. And now they are going through the process of making quantum computing really scalable and modular. And they expect to deliver the first fault-tolerant quantum computers by 2029, and then scale them as the time goes on. So one of the requirements that we need to realize these fault-tolerant quantum computers is the number of qubits. So we've seen that they are increasing the number of qubits year after year. And then another thing that we require is the quality of these qubits. We require high quality of the qubits. And the problem with quantum computers is that they are very susceptible, they are very sensitive to environmental conditions, so that errors are very likely to occur. And in order to correct for these errors, there are different strategies like error correction and error mitigation that need to be integrated within the quantum hardware in order to scale the quantum computers to a larger scale. And for that, both IBM and other providers are working on realizing these error-corrected quantum computers that will lead us towards the fault-tolerant quantum computing era. And just a few weeks ago, Google also released a new quantum chip that shows how quantum error correction can be done at scale. So we're really in this stage where quantum error correction is beginning to become feasible, and it's going to be developing in the next 5 to 10 years. But as I said, we do not need to wait until we have these fault-tolerant quantum computers to start getting value from quantum technologies. And also, it's not just IBM or Google, but it's really a global effort. It's a global ecosystem where we have quantum startups, quantum computing companies that are building other types of quantum computers. And there's also a lot of effort in academia and also in the software side and application side. So the current investments exceed $42 billion. And so it's really a global investment towards the realization of these technologies. And I wanted to present some of the use cases that are being done today with these quantum-inspired and hybrid quantum computers that we have today. So for example, there's a collaboration between Yale, Moderna, and NVIDIA to apply quantum and quantum-inspired technologies for drug discovery. So the goal here is to predict different molecular properties. And I think this is a great example of a quantum-inspired algorithm because they're using the GPUs from NVIDIA to realize these algorithms. And also, it's a great example of a combination of quantum computing and machine learning, because these technologies go very much together, and quantum computing is very suitable for accelerating certain machine learning algorithms. Then there are other examples. For example, Moderna and IBM are also collaborating to predict RNA structures for therapeutic design. And this is a great example of a hybrid quantum algorithm because they're using the quantum computers from IBM, but they're also using a lot of classical algorithms to optimize the whole process. And they're achieving a scale that would be very challenging or even impossible to achieve with only classical computers. Then this is within healthcare and pharmaceuticals, which is one of the areas where quantum is expected to have the highest impact. But for example, there's also Multiverse Computing, which is a Spanish company that uses quantum-inspired algorithms for financial services. They just went through their Series A. They raised $25 million, 25 million euros, I think. And they are really showing how this technology can be used for financial services. And finally, there's also D-Wave, which is a company that provides quantum computers with a specific quantum paradigm that's very good for optimization problems. And they realized this study that found that organizations expect up to 20 times ROI from quantum computing investments, in particular, just in quantum optimization. So it's really an area that still needs to be explored a lot, and we still need to get a lot of advantage from this technology. I also wanted to present some of the use cases that we have been exploring at Ingenii, and we've really been exploring use cases within 3 different areas within life sciences. So the first one is diagnostics, where the high dimensionality of data can usually be a problem for classical algorithms, especially within classical machine learning. So here we developed a project within breast cancer image segmentation, because breast cancer is one of the most dangerous cancer among women. And what we achieved with this quantum, it was actually a hybrid quantum algorithm that leveraged D-Wave's quantum computers, and also some classical solvers. And we achieved a unsupervised method, which was able to detect breast cancer in medical images. And the advantages of this method was that first, it was 10 times faster than classical algorithms that were used for the same task. And then it was unsupervised. This means that we don't need extensive data sets to train this model compared to supervised machine learning algorithms. And we would still maintain the accuracy and precision needed for breast cancer image segmentation. This is in the field of diagnostics. Then we also explored and did research in the field of drug discovery. In this particular project, we were studying target validation. This means once you've already discovered or proposed a molecule that you want to use as a drug, you have to go through a series of computational analysis to make sure that this molecule will work as expected before going to clinical trials. So here we were trying to predict the interaction strength between this molecule and the proteins that it's going to find in your body. And you want this molecule to bind just one protein and not bind the other proteins. The way that it was done classically was through, again, neural network models, machine learning models. But the problem was that these machine learning models were very, very complex. They had a lot of training parameters, and therefore you needed huge data sets in order to train them. And also they required a lot of time and resources to train those. So by combining and designing this hybrid quantum classical neural network with quantum-inspired technology, we achieved a 40% reduction in training times and costs associated with training these neural networks. And we also achieved a slight improvement in the accuracy because our neural network was had fewer training parameters, so it was less prone to overfitting the training data. And finally, we're currently doing research in clinical trial optimization. And we think we believe that this is very important because clinical trials have a huge failure rate. So over 90% chance of failure rate. And the clinical trials take a lot of time and also cost to realize. So optimizing clinical trial can really be a game changer for new drugs going to market faster. We've identified several use cases that could be optimized using quantum computing within clinical trial design. And just to give you an example, we've been working on optimizing patient stratification. This means separating patients into different control and treatment groups in a way that there are not biases in these distributions. What you want to achieve with this is that once you go through a clinical trial, you get reliable and statistically significant results and you can draw conclusions from the study that you just made. But if there are significant biases, say, for example, on the age of the patient or the gender or any biomarker that's relevant to this treatment, then you can find gaps in the statistical analysis that you will perform later on. And this problem can be formulated as an optimization problem. And what we found is that by using a quantum algorithm, we can mitigate the biases of this patient stratification, and we can do it 100 times faster than when using classical algorithms. So these are just some examples of what you could do with quantum technologies. And now you might be wondering, okay, but what problems are actually suitable for quantum computing. And the challenge with quantum computing is that you not only need to find the right algorithms to solve a problem, but you also have to find the right problems that can be solved with quantum computing. So at Ingenii, we've been developing these frameworks to help companies understand what of their challenges could be useful quantum problems to realize impact, both in the short term and also in the longer term. So this is a long list and it's a process that you can go through, but just to give you an idea, the first step would be to evaluate the business impact. So you want to find problems that that would efficiently and significantly impact your business if you could solve, or if you could solve significantly faster or with less fewer resources. So once you've examined the business impact and you've identified those problems that can really change the way you do business and can really give you a cutting edge with this technology, then you have to assess whether these problems are actually problems that are suitable for quantum algorithms and quantum computers. So this really depends on the area, the type of problem that you're solving. But for example, quantum algorithms are usually suitable for optimization problems where you have like a huge solution space that you want to navigate faster, or for machine learning problems when you have very high dimensional data that it's hard to extract information from, or that you require very vast models to train effective machine learning algorithms that solve your problem. Similarly, with probabilistic models, by using the inherent probabilistic nature of quantum computers, or methods that are based on linear algebra or matrices, tensors, because quantum computing is really based on a theory that's all linear algebra. So some of these algorithms are easy to accelerate using quantum-inspired or fully quantum algorithms. And then once you have identified the problem that you want to solve, you might be thinking, okay, then how do we get started with implementing those quantum computers? And our mission at Ingenii is really to accelerate the adoption of quantum machine learning within life sciences. And we believe that the best way to do that is by giving the tools of applying these quantum algorithms to the data scientists, the bioinformaticians that are already working on these problems. And this is why we are providing different tools that can be used by these data scientists to start adopting this technology. So for example, we have just released a Python library that provides visualization tools for different quantum algorithms, building blocks of different algorithms and applications, and then evaluation metrics so that you can evaluate the design of your algorithm without really needing to know too much about quantum mechanics. But even with that, we understand that the laws of quantum information and quantum mechanics are a bit counterintuitive. So for that, we also provide training programs for different companies to understand what algorithms are more suitable for them and how they can get started with these quantum-inspired hybrid algorithms to bring an advantage today. We're focusing more on two aspects of quantum computing. One is quantum machine learning, which means integrating quantum computing to machine learning algorithms and usually accelerating the training and deployment of quantum machine learning algorithms. And for that, we would give a fundamental intuition of how quantum algorithms work, and then we would dive deeper into what quantum machine learning algorithms are out there and which ones you can use for different use cases. And then we have quantum optimization for different problems in the real world. So again, here we would give an intuition of how quantum computing works, and then gain a literacy of different quantum algorithms that are used for optimization problems. And we also offer custom trainings that are a combination of this, or that are tailored for your specific needs and requirements of your company. And I think this is all I wanted to share with you today. So I'm very happy to take questions and see how we can work together or drive innovation together. Thank you.
Can you exemplify some ways by which quantum-inspired algorithms use QM structure while remaining classical in nature?
Yes. So for example, one of the most typical quantum-inspired algorithms are tensor networks. So tensor networks work with high-dimensional matrices, so networks, and they use the unitary matrices from quantum computing and like quantum operations to compress tensors to lower rank representations. So they're, for example, used for neural network compression, where you can think of the weights of your neural network as a high-dimensional matrix, and then use these tensor networks to find a good lower rank representation of this neural network, so that you still contain all the useful information, but with the lowest number of training parameters as possible. So it's a good way to like maintain the maximum information that you can get with this neural network with the fewest training parameters. And there are lots of structures of tensor networks that are inspired by different quantum Hamiltonians, for example, or like quantum systems that use different operations to be defined. And so it's using these quantum operations as a basis to compress the tensor networks or the like neural networks or like large dimensional tensors. That's an example.
I do have a question here about so twofold. One, this is me to confirm my understanding here. You do not need to run this on a quantum computer in order to integrate quantum computing algorithms into the current machine learning or AI workflow that you have set up, correct?
That is correct for quantum inspired algorithms, yes.
Okay, so then the second part here is you showed some examples where you arrive to a conclusion earlier or that is more correct, you know, has less bias, other things that we would consider more correct, right? What's the time? So from someone who starts and says, hey, I'm interested in working with you, to coming to an output product, like something that they can take away, what is the usual amount of time that it's taking y'all in your experience to get there?
I have to say that that really depends on the kind of problem that you're solving and how far you want to go. If it's only like a POC, if it's a full solution. We also work with companies to develop quantum roadmaps to understand what you can do today versus what you can do in the future. So there's really room for innovation throughout time. But I would say that a typical POC would take around 2 to 3 months to just get a product. A POC. So that just implement a few quantum algorithms to validate that these algorithms provide some significant advantage compared to your existing solutions, and like test that with some data sets. And then depending on the scale and how much how much you want to improve it takes longer. But for a starting point of, okay, this is something that works with the data sets that we have, and compared to the baselines that we have, I would say a few months.
Is there anything that needs to be done additionally to prepare data sets before they go through this process? Or is it basically everything is the same, it's just changing the algorithm on your end or helping integrate?
The data sets themselves are the same. We're not working with different data. The thing is that the way you formulate the problem might be very different. So, for example, with the medical imaging use case, the classical method was relying on a neural network. So that's one kind of algorithm. But in order to use quantum in an efficient way, we formulated the problem as a mathematical optimization problem. And that's like a very different formulation. So it's more different than just replacing one neural network by another architecture. But the data was the same. It was just the formulation of the problem that's usually quite different.
Got it. Thank you for answering the questions. And
if there aren't too many more questions, I have, this is sort of not directly in bio, but I'm kind of curious if you've run across the implications for cryptography and whether there are some efforts underway to make kind of quantum proof algorithms. So sort of working the problem from the other side. Like how do you actually stop data from being useful for quantum computing?
Yeah, so there's what's called post-quantum cryptography, which I think it's not the most suitable name, because like quantum exists and will exist. So there's no before and after quantum. But basically, the algorithms that are being used for cryptography, or the main algorithms, are based on the fact that it's very hard to factorize large numbers into a prime decomposition, and prime number decomposition. And with quantum computing, that's actually a problem that can be solved fairly easily if you have a large enough and reliable enough quantum computer, which is not the case right now. But the thing is that you can definitely design other algorithms that do not rely on the fact that it's hard to factorize large numbers. And that's what is being done right now, like all the efforts of like creating new cryptography algorithms that are like resistant to quantum, in the sense that there's no one known algorithm that would crack the code exponentially faster. So that's where the efforts are going to, just designing different algorithms that are not like quantum susceptible, let's say. But it has nothing to
Is
do
quantum
with
computing useful? Sorry, is quantum computing useful for creating quantum proof encryptions, or is it sort of a different kind of basic math question?
That's a great question. I mean, you do need to know what quantum is good for in order to design something that's resistant to it. But I think the algorithms that are being used are like independent. They're just like based on different like mathematical formulations. And as I said, like quantum is very good at like searching for different solutions at the same time. So if you have an algorithm that's not based on that, it's probably resistant to quantum algorithms as well. So yeah, it's just like a different direction of cryptography, but it does understand what quantum is good for in order to avoid being susceptible to that.
Okay, yeah, I'm just trying to think of like complementary areas where people are willing to spend, a lot of capital right away that would kind of boost the bio efforts in the long term.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of optimization process within in any company or any industry, really, like supply chain optimization or logistics optimization, like anything that's related to optimizing a process is a good problem for quantum. And I think this is very industry agnostic, I would say. But in terms of industries, the ones that are expected to have the highest like quantum potential are life sciences and financial services. So encryption kind of goes in that direction.
Nice, makes sense.
Yeah, if I could maybe ask an additional question here based off of some of what Derek had mentioned. Like, I think from a novice perspective, one of the advantages potentially to if you say quantum computing would be like, oh, like, is there a natural play towards like encryption, cybersecurity, things of that nature? Like, is this does that fall outside of the scope of this company, or is there any intersection for the algorithms that you are developing with that field in general?
I mean, the algorithms have a lot of intersections between multiple fields. Our company is focused on life science solutions, so we're always developing solutions that are related to that area. But the building blocks of the algorithms are transferable. It's just not our main research area.
Your focus, yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's a very clear answer.
And we're open to creative ideas like you mentioned, breaking down barriers, because I can see from the perspective of, at the end of the day, cybersecurity, there's certain people that are going to dump money, can justify dumping budgets and having that be the first project that they try just because it's a security thing, rather than it being trying a new idea. So I think there's different ways that we can kind of, I guess, bridge the spaces to help break down those barriers where it's an easier kind of consumable application. Versus I think sometimes it might be hard to sell that you're completely starting a whole quantum R&D, completely different project, versus how is this integrating, protecting, scaling what we already have type of thing.
Absolutely understood.
Yeah, that's a good way to frame it.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and follow up with the deck so that you guys have access to that. And As we mentioned, happy to have any deeper dive conversations with anyone that wants to dig into any of these particular areas. But we hope you found it useful. Hope you took something away today.
And thank you all for joining.